on the Middle East. But people here desperately want an end to this war. They want these attacks to stop. But at the moment, there seems to be no prospect of that.
Well, that was Sarah Rainsford. Let's speak live on the programme to Latvia's Foreign Affairs Minister, Baiba Braže. And thank you, Minister, for being here live on BBC News. Your reaction first to what we've seen from Russia overnight.
I think it's very clear that Russia has not changed either its objectives, which is subjugating Ukraine or erasing it from the face of earth. Neither it has changed the approach to the war, that it's ready to commit any war crime, any terror attack on civilians, on children, on cultural objects at any scale. And this is what we are seeing, and we have to call it out. And not only we have to call it out, we also have to act. And we expect more sanctions. We expect Russia's isolation. We certainly don't expect a red carpet for Russia either at the Venice Biennale or international sports competitions,
yes.
Just like now the Swimming Federation suddenly has announced that it will let Russia compete. So there are actions that we all together, whether UK, we in Latvia, others, everybody who stands for certain principles, we have to take those actions and argue those decisions.
I'll come to actions going forward in a moment, but I was fascinated by the early part of your answer because you were so clear, as you were describing it, calling Russia out. Why do you think, 14 months into this US administration, we haven't heard those sorts of words from the American president?
There is no illusion in Washington about what Russia is doing. I've been there quite a number of times in my 2 years as minister with both previous administration, the current administration. Yes, the wording is different. Yes.
Well, the wording is completely different. Sorry to cut across you. The wording is completely different. You talk about war crimes. You talk about targeting civilian areas. You very clearly put the blame on Vladimir Putin. When you hear Donald Trump speak, there is none of that. He is always talking about both sides and the losses to both sides, and therefore the need to bring this war to an end without attributing who is the aggressor in all of this. I wonder if you can just actually just refer and reference to that exact point.
The exact point is that this administration sees itself as a mediator, as someone who is facilitating the negotiations, and it does not want to speak the same way as we do. We see it very clearly that Russia has to be forced to peace. So we need more help for Ukraine militarily in other ways. US sees itself differently. It's a legitimate position to take in their view. So that is fine.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that we should not do or act and take those decisions that we have to make. Also, this administration has indeed imposed quite significant sanctions on Russia. So let's continue that way and make sure that we see various perspectives in all this, because ultimately what we all want is peace. Not only in the Middle East, but in Ukraine. We want peace that is both lasting and that is both just.
Sure. Before you elaborate on some of the decisions for European capitals, I just want to play you a clip from the Vice President, J.D. Vance. He was speaking in the last 48 hours, and I just want you to hear what he said about the war in Ukraine and the American role and the American decision-making. Have a listen to this.
This person got really agitated at me because I was saying we should stop funding the Ukraine war, okay? And I still believe that, obviously, and it's one of the things I'm proudest that we've done as administration is we've told Europe that if you want to buy weapons, you can, but the United States is not buying weapons and sending them to Ukraine anymore. We're just out of that business. It's a very good thing.
So, Foreign Minister, the Vice President saying he is proud of the fact the US have stopped funding Ukraine in this war. Do you echo those words? And when he finishes his thoughts about what the Europeans have to do, what is it that the Europeans have to do? They still don't supply Taurus missiles. There are a number of decisions that still need to be made in European capitals.
Yes, indeed. And that means also European capitals have to continue the trend of raising defense expenditure. The defense capabilities, capacities, industrial production capacities in defense, because, yes, we are buying under a specific weapons program within NATO from the US, But in the same time, we have to have our own stuff that we are able to produce and supply, not only for ourselves, but also for Ukraine.
Yeah, and are you
So
proud that the
that,
Americans have stopped funding Ukraine?
On that point, that Europe should take more responsibility, I fully agree. No, I disagree that it's a good decision to stop funding Ukraine, but okay, administrations take different decisions. That is, as I said, they come in from a different perspective. The important part is to get to peace, So remember the peace through strength approach that President Trump declared. In our view, that involves certain things. That involves continuing to support Ukraine, comprehensive military support, political support, economic support. It also means to continue weakening Russia.
Yeah.
But it also means investing in our own strength. And that actually is the first pillar. Latvia is the first ally which has decided to allocate 5% of GDP for defense by law. We passed a law on it. So it's enshrined. And we will be doing that because we believe that our own strength comes first.
Yes,
and
it
of course, of course, NATO's unity is crucially important. So we are quite worried about that one too, currently.
It is a very significant development, that 5% figure you're talking about. Foreign Minister, we've run out of time, but thank you so much for your time, for speaking to us here on BBC News. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We're going to take a short break. Around the world and across the UK, you're watching BBC News.